You know, you could get caught up and think, wow, that's fantastic. But of course, if properties have already been sold, you might be buying into a market in some cases that's already saturated. So how do you get there first?
Well, you might be, but the first thing to do is to look outside of property. You see, a lot of people think, well, I'm going to invest in property, so they just look at property. But there are so many other things that affect the property market and affect prices other than just property, because property moves based on what's going on in the area with regard to who's moving into it, with regard to, is there a new big office development coming up, is something like that going to open, is there a big new Marks and Spencer's?
Yes, hence your tip about posh shops. Yes.
Exactly, because they've done the research already.
Yes.
So you can piggyback on them. They found it, Waitrose have found that, well, we have so many of our target market here, we should open a store here. So if you hear that Waitrose are going to open a store in this area, then you know that that's probably been identified by them as an up-and-coming area. So you don't have to pay all the thousands of pounds worth of research, just piggyback on them.
It's even things like eateries as well. If you get one of the big bar chains or anything like that, actually wanting to invest money there, it's because they can see there's a future.
Well, absolutely, because these people, they don't invest in an area and then say, oh, well, we'll shove a Starbucks there and see how it goes, or a Pizza Express and see how it goes. They do masses and masses of research first to see whether it's going to make money, and only then will they open up. So if you know that they're about to open up, and you can look at planning applications in the papers, you see, and things like this, or even become a shareholder in some of these companies, and then you get notification of what they're doing.
Oh, what a good idea.
Yeah, so all of these little things, so think outside of the, I know it's a cliche, but think outside the box, the property box.
Every one of the instructors walks the talk. In the world of investment education, you got to make sure the person practices what they preach. I don't talk about stocks, I don't talk about that because that's not the game. But I do talk about business and real estate. And the reason I love these guys is because every instructor walks the talk, and they're here to make sure that you get what you want, right? So big hand for Maria, please. Thank you.
This is an example of a property deal I'm doing right now. I've got this property, and this property, a lot of people might say, oh, well, the figures don't add up, so why would you even keep it? You should sell the property. And I don't want to sell anything, as I said to you already. This particular property is worth about £460,000. Now, the mortgage every month on this property is £2,100. But the rent it can achieve is only £1,500. So now I've got a shortfall of £600 every single month. So how much is that over a year? It's what, sorry? 7,200. So let's say it takes 10 years for this property to double. Let's say I have to subsidise that rent to that tune over the whole of the 10 years. That means £72,000 I've had to put into that over 10 years. Now, that property has doubled in value. So how much have I made? Because now it's worth another 460,000. So I've made 460,000, but it's cost me 72,000. So I've still made, what, 388,000, isn't it? I've still made that on that property. How many, could you put in £600 a month into a pension scheme for 10 years, starting from now, and get that kind of amount in there? You couldn't, could you? You couldn't. Oh, let's make it even worse. Let's say I don't even ever get to rent that property. Let's say I've got to pay $2,100 in mortgage for the next 10 years. Sometimes you can. I think it's a danger for some people. Stuart obviously has been able to take that emotional side out of it to a certain extent. And I'm not going to argue with him too much because, you know, he's got big thighs.
They can become emotionally detached.
I know.
You were looking at his thighs? Are you sure you didn't take the wrong turn?
And he did say he was going to immerse himself, so he's got that mud on the brain.
Right, stop right there.
Personally, I like to do it on the figures, I like to do it on the research, whether the property will rent out, etc., etc., etc. And to me, I don't care whether I see it or not. It's boxes, it's that much in to get the box, that much is coming out the box. I don't care if I see it or not. But that's just me. And I got there through property. Here's a selection of some of the properties I own. I own properties right up in Aberdeenshire in Scotland, right down in Sussex, here in London, across in the northeast of England, and right across in Wales. I wasn't blessing you there, I was just telling you where my properties were. But these have resulted in financial freedom for me. There are properties I've never even seen that I own now. Not that I recommend that if you're starting off, you do it that way. But these properties and the others have given me the ability to be able to follow my dreams. The risk of being feisty again, the thing is, Jane's saying she wants to buy it as a wedding present, so presumably it's like, this is the house, there it is, now it's yours.
Yes.
So it's not a case of she wants to buy it for any tax reasons for herself. If she buys it in her name and then she transfers it over to her daughter, she's going to have a big tax bill doing that. They're going to have a big tax bill for the transfer. So I wouldn't advise it. I think what she should do is give her daughter the money to buy the house. That's what the gift should be, and then let her daughter buy it in her name. The two areas to focus on are, what do you think? Well, kitchen and bathroom. Why? Because who makes the decision about which property they want to rent or buy? Man or the woman? The woman does. And you know, women make decisions very quickly. In fact, I was reading that when a man and a woman go out on their first date, a woman will make a decision about whether it's worth continuing with this man, putting any more time into him, within 17 seconds. Men take 35 seconds to do the same thing. What does that tell you?